Have you ever gotten a meeting invite and wondered, why am I on this meeting? What is the scope of discussion and what is the objective? Well, I've been there and I'm sure you have been too. Potentially, probably you're the one that have sent those kind of invites, because I can totally tell you probably early in my career, and probably chances are I did the same thing. So if you want to learn how to facilitate meetings effectively, stick around. I'm going to be sharing more information with you. Hi there, my name is Anna Ladikbo of AnnaLadikbo.com. Instagram handle is the Anna Ladikbo. Twitter is the Anna Ladikbo. And of course, my YouTube, this channel you're watching. Please do subscribe and hit the like button, and also click on the notification so you can get notifications when I post new videos. So, if I have to think back on my journey to kind of where I am today, I've worked as a senior management consultant and IT program manager, and most of your work really is communication, verbal and written communication. And your chances are, if you're a project or program manager, you're in a lot of meetings, and perception is reality, they say. So the perception of people have of you probably will start from the time that you send your first meeting invite. So let me tell you a few tips I've leveraged to ensure that I built credibility and I facilitated meetings effectively and the outcomes have been positive. Let's get into it. First and foremost, ensure that you know who your participants are. So if there are people that you just want to FYI on the meeting, then please put them as optional. Do not put people that are not going to have gain any value from your meeting or provide any value or benefit to your meeting in the required attendees. Make sure that people that you want to FYI, or you just want to give the option to attend or not, put them as optional. Secondly, your subject line is very important. Make sure it clearly states exactly what you're trying to get from the meeting. So if it's, let's take for example, a business requirements review meeting, and you need that meeting, you need your stakeholders to attend that meeting, because the outcome or the output of that meeting is, at the end of the meeting, you want to send them the business requirements document so they can sign off. Then please be clear in your subject line saying, for example, the name of the project, a colon, and put business requirements review, and of course say action required. I like to put like action required, info required, input required, just before I put the name of the project, because this really tells people how important the meeting is. So action required might be, okay, maybe Anna wants at the end of the meeting some sort of input from me, maybe a sign off. That's why it's action required, and I put that in caps, so everything is in capital letter. Or info required means Anna needs some information from me, so I better look in the details of the meeting to see exactly what this meeting is about. Which takes me to my next point. You need to put a good and it might be high level detail, it should be high level, but enough for your potential attendees to know what you're trying to get out of the meeting. So for example, you can have a meeting objective is to review the business requirements document, Also, let them know if there's any required preparation, and just few bullet points would suffice, because you also don't want to overwhelm with too much information. So maybe action required is kindly review the document ahead of the meeting, and let me know if you have any questions, or come with your questions to the meeting, or feel free to book a time ahead of the meeting if you need some clarification. And finally, what's the outcome of the meeting? The outcome of the meeting is, at the end of this meeting, I'm going to need a sign off on this document within 3 days. Okay? And of course, if you want to go an extra step, you can also put the next date. If there's going to be another date for the meeting, just put that in the invite and just simply put next meeting date, put the date, or put the date. Now, it's also good practice to have an agenda so people know what to expect in terms of the flow of discussion. So if you're going to have a meeting that's like 2 hours or 3 hours, then you should let people know what is happening, what discussions are happening, what the duration is, and if there's going to be a break, make sure you put that in there. And I think a rule of thumb usually is maybe for every hour you should take a 10-minute break or somewhere along those lines, because unless you're scheduling a meeting for camels, you need to schedule breaks in there. So be clear in your meeting invite what the proposed agenda is and what the required duration is, the proposed duration is. Now, once you send that out, then it's time to get yourself prepared. So I'm still going to anchor with the business requirements document I talked about. So if you want to do a requirements review meeting, then do send out that document ahead of time. My recommendation is nothing less than at least 3 days to give people or your stakeholders a chance to review the document and get back to you with any questions. And I like to recommend that because people are different. There are people who are more high level, who are high level, and there are people who get into the weeds. Now, if you're probably a newer business analyst resource, then you want to make sure that you understand who the participants are. So sending out the document really is to get a sense of who's who and also anticipate how the meeting will go. Because if you send it ahead of time and people ask you questions, it gives you enough leverage to come prepared. Also, know who your participants are, know their style. I've talked about people who are high level and people who are detailed. And especially if you're a newer resource, you don't want to be in those kinds of meetings and you don't have answers, or you get overwhelmed, or you lose credibility because you're not able to answer questions. I'll give a tip. If you're not able to answer questions, which I had to learn and which I'm still learning, it's okay to say, I don't have the answer for you right now, but I'll be happy to take that back and reach out to you offline. Just a tip there. So, moving forward, you've sent the meeting invite, you've sent the document ahead, just so you can kind of get a feel of maybe the level of complexity of what the meeting is. Then what next should you do? Now it's meeting day. Either it's virtual or you're doing this in person. My recommendation is make sure you know your environment. And know your environment, meaning if you have a meeting room that you booked, make sure you go there ahead of the meeting and just get a sense, get a feel of it, even if it's a day or so before, because some people do run larger meetings. I've been in those kinds of meetings. It's not just the volume of people, but it's the type of people that are there, and you want to make sure you're not being sloppy, right? So go into the meeting room, make sure that the size is adequate for the number of people you've invited. Check that the technology works. If you're using projectors, if you're using any types of technology, or if there's going to be teleconferencing, make sure you test that out. You can tell someone to just help you out with if there's any teleconferencing. Just make sure you're okay with the technology, because the last thing you want to do is to start fiddling with technology when people are sitting down and they're waiting. The same thing if it's virtual, do the same thing. Now, you've done all that. What happens on the day of the meeting? Do get there ahead of time. If there's no other meeting happening before, then try to get there at least 10 to 15 minutes ahead. Make sure you're relaxed. Make sure you know your environment. And it's good for people to walk in and see you sitting there and you welcome them. You feel more relaxed than having to run to a meeting where it is critical, it is important, and you're flustered and you're trying to get all the technology right while people are sitting just looking at you and waiting. You don't want that. You want them to come in to meet you composed and ready to deliver. Okay? Another tip is start the meeting off strong. Remember, you're in control, you're the facilitator. Start the meeting strong with a very strong introduction. Set the expectation, do a quick recap of the agenda, and get right into things. You've already set the tone. You're showing I'm in control. I should have authority of this meeting, and I own it. It's my show. But yes, everyone's welcome to, of course, participate, but you're the facilitator, so you need to have the authority, at least project that you have that authority to control the meeting. Now the meeting starts, you put out your agenda, and you know who your participants are. Make sure you control the meeting, make sure you read the room, make sure you understand the different personality types that are there. Some people tend to talk a lot and not give other people a chance to talk. Make sure you have a good balance of just trying to get a feel. If someone is trying to interject, you can very well interject and say, oh, thanks for your, that information. I just want to hear a bit more about, let's just even say another department, just because I have a bit more information there. And it's not calling anyone out, but you want to give people an opportunity, everyone, to feel that they've participated. Like I said before, if you're getting questions you can't answer, confidently say you don't have the answers, but you're happy to get back more information. Also, if you have people going at it and it's getting too long, going at it means that they are in disagreement and they're not agreeing on something, let's just even say a requirement, and it's going on and on and on. Step in and don't let people run the meeting for you, right? You should be in control, and if you notice that, then if there's nothing happening, if there's a stalemate, then please do let them know this is your meeting. It seems like we're not going to get an answer at this meeting, and I'm happy to set up another time. Let's take this offline. I think that should work if most people are reasonable enough to know that they shouldn't sabotage meetings and waste people's times, right? Arguing. So quickly make sure that you take control, you step in, and you offer alternatives for that discussion as opposed to just shutting them down and not giving alternatives. Another thing is, if you find that your meeting, the time you booked is not sufficient, respectfully, once you're getting to, I'll say about 20, 15 minutes, 10 minutes to the end of the meeting, and you feel there's a lot of content, or even before that, if you feel there's a lot of content that hasn't been covered and needs to be covered, and you anticipate or you suspect that you're not going to get through everything, then you can quickly, before the meeting is over, interject at some point within like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, just say that it seems that we're not going to have enough time to cover all the material we have here. Is everyone okay to stay? And this is assuming that you've checked that the meeting room is still available. You're not going to know what everyone's timing is, right? So that's why you put that out there. And of course, when you have key people say, no, I have to go for another meeting, then you'll just wrap that up by saying, okay, I'll set up another time. But the reason you do that is it's respectful, one, and two, you don't want to end your meeting with a cliffhanger where people are like, oh, 2 minutes, 5 minutes over, I gotta go. And these are people you need information from, and there's no conclusion. You really feel you haven't gotten anything, and you're just left there wondering. So take control of that, interject, find out if people are okay waiting to, let's say another half an hour. You can ask, are you okay to stay another half an hour? But also, if things have not, what you intended for the meeting has not been accomplished, then one thing to remember is the purpose of your meeting is not to talk. So you're not bringing people together just to talk. You have a goal in mind, and as long as you set that expectation in your meeting invite, you should try to stick with what you have communicated as the expectations from the meeting, and try and stay away from just a meeting where people are talking and you're not accomplishing anything, you're not getting what you need. You should rein people back in if you think things are veering off course and it's not beneficial to why you scheduled that meeting. Rein people back in and focus them back on what the goals, the expectations, and the outcomes are. So just to wrap up, I'm going to give a few points here I've written down somewhere on who good or what qualities good facilitators have. So good facilitators, one, they prepare ahead. Two, they keep the group on track. Three, they manage conflict constructively. Four, they manage personalities. Five, they encourage participation. Six, they simulate discussions. Seven, they're flexible in their approach. Eight, they respond to the group. So reading the room, they respond to the group. They remain neutral but not passive. And that's where I talked about, when you read the room and if there's conflict, you just respectfully find a suitable time for them to continue that conversation as opposed to either taking sides or just shutting it down, right? And lastly, they just manage their time well and they ensure that they've hit the objectives of the meeting. So I hope I've helped you with a couple of tips on effective meeting facilitation. For more videos like this, remember to subscribe. Also hit the like button and the notification button. I'm going to be posting content on effective communication, project leadership, business coaching. I have an online marketplace, so any content could come out. Any content within my multi-hyphenate ecosystem could come on this platform, but everything is designed to be beneficial. So don't forget to hit the like button and also subscribe. My Instagram handle is @theanalyticboss, so please go there and follow. Till next time, signing out. Take care. Bye.